Rachel Milburn, the Network Youth Church leader for the Eden area, and I'm going to be making bread today. Thanks to everybody who messaged me or commented about my last week's post where I made Swiss roll, and lots of suggestions of things for me to have a go at. But I thought this week I'd do bread, okay? Now, for those of you who think bread is really complicated and you need a bread maker, you need all sorts of fancy things, you really don't. It's dead easy. It's just quite time consuming. So if you want to do it along with me as I'm speaking at home, you're going to need a bread tin like this. This was my great grandma's. It's ancient, but it never sticks when it comes out, so it's great. That's proper loaf tin. You're going to need some yeast, one little sachet of yeast like that. These are from Morrison's. Some lard or some butter, some salt, bread flour, some hot water and a bit of milk. Okay, you don't have to put milk in. I like mine with milk in, but you don't have to. It works just the same with water. You're going to need a bowl, some weighing scales and a teaspoon to measure your stuff, okay? So if you want to go and get ready, pause me now and then we'll start again afterwards, okay? So I'm going to make it to the point where I'll plop it in the tin, but then it needs to rise, and that takes anywhere from between an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I've got some jobs to do down Kirby. So I'm going to make it, stick it in the tin, cover it with a tea towel, and then pop it by the fire, and then hopefully by the time I've been to Kirby and come back it'll have risen, and then I can put it in the oven. And once it goes in the oven, it only takes about half an hour. It's the rising that takes forever. But if you've got something to do in between, then that's great. When I make this, I always think back to the olden days when they used to have to do this every day or every other day, and it's so labour intensive. You never get anything done for making your bread. But anyway, we'll have a crack, okay? So in your bowl, you're going to need, sorry, I've just got my recipe on here, 500 grams of white bread flour. It's better if you've got a pot bowl, but if you haven't, it doesn't matter. You need quite a heavy bowl because you start mixing it up and a plastic one just can't cope. But anyway, 500 grams. Oh. That's it. And then set it aside. Don't put it away because you're going to need it again for rolling it out onto. And then into that goes your salt, which is 1 1/4 teaspoons of salt. It's probably not overly healthy. And you can actually put sugar in it as well, which makes your crust better. If you want a thick crust, but we don't like crust in this house. Crust for the hens in everything. But if you like a load of crust on your bread, then put in 2 teaspoons of sugar. Okay, so that's the salt gone in. And then if you just move that to the side, because I don't know why, I don't know if it's because I'm superstitious or what it is, but I don't believe that you should put your yeast onto your salt, because for some reason it doesn't always rise. Hang on, you need some scissors as well. Scissors, so just sprinkle that on. It's just like little tiny pellets of yeast. If you've had to buy a box of this, then you've got to get it used because it goes out of date quite quickly. Let's put your yeast in, that's it. And then you need 10 fluid ounces of water. So I'm going to use about 8 and then a glug of milk. So, hang on a sec. Sorry, I should have had that prepared. So that's about 8. And then I'm just going to top it up with milk. And if it's warm, it gets your yeast going quicker. So it would still probably work if you use cold, but it would just take ages for your yeast to get going. And then on top of that, you need a little bit of lard, or you can use butter. I've always used lard. I don't know why. Me and my mum used to have a little stall when I first had Emily, and we used to sell chickens, fresh chickens, on a market stall. And we used to make bread, her and I, and oh my goodness, the stories I could tell you about that were quite traumatic. But yeah, so you need how much? 25 grams of lard. Now set your lard aside, or your butter, because you've got to grease your tin. That's not a very pleasant job, but got to be done. So get your lard in there. I'm just going to tie my hair back because you don't want hair in your bread. should always have your hair tied back, really. But last week I forgot. Anyway, there, hair tied back. And then just gradually tip your fluids into your mix. And then I've washed my hands. Get your hands in. Okay. I don't know about you, but when I was thinking about what to make this week, I mean, I could make all sorts of really glamorous and exciting things, but I don't know, I just feel with our climate at the moment that a lot of people are struggling. A lot of people are thinking, you know, they're sat at home, locked down, especially people of my generation, I think, and the younger ones that are really struggling with maybe the mental health, maybe, you know, they're not getting up as early, then, you know, what is there to get up for? First time I've put any makeup on in I don't know how long, you know. People are just lounging around in the pyjamas all day, and we're just kind of coping. We don't feel like we're being awesome, and I just think that's going to be reflected in my baking today. I don't want to be awesome, I just want to prove that, you know, you can make something that's kind of your staple part of your diet. Doesn't take a lot of effort, really. It's quite time consuming, but once you've got it all together like that, you should only have it on one hand. This hand's clean, this hand not clean. Okay, let's try and keep it on one hand. But like I was saying, I think, you know, if everybody could just sit back for a minute and just think, you know, we're all going through it together, we're all the same, and no matter what our social media says, and no matter what our friends say they're doing, you know, some people are doing like 25-mile walks and others can't get out of bed, you know, and that's fine. I think we're living in strange times, and I don't think that anybody should be making anybody feel guilty for, you know, not being awesome in these times. I think, you know, people are just surviving, and that's okay. And that's kind of how what I wanted to reflect in my baking today, that we don't have to be awesome, you know, we're all going through it. Somebody posted on Facebook last week, you know, we're all in, we're all in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat, you know. But some people have got horrendous things going on. Others are like really worried about redundancy and stresses, and, you know, single parents struggling on their own to do flipping homeschooling, and it's really awful. So I just want you to all know that, you know, we're all in it together, that nobody has to do anything that anybody else is doing. Good luck to you if you want to, you know, do 600 miles in January or whatever. I think that's awesome. However, it's not suitable for everybody, and nobody should be made to feel bad because they're not coping with that. So anyway, the other thing about making bread is when you get it going like this, into your dough ball like this, you can really start to take out your anger. So if you're just stressed up about something, or you could get your worst enemy's face into that bread, or your stresses and your anxieties, and get it worked in there, because the more you knead it, the better your bread will be, okay? So you can be thinking about all sorts of terrible things, just get it all out in there. It's better than telling somebody on the phone. It's better than looking them in the eye and telling them, get it out in your bread, because your bread doesn't care, okay? So get it all kneaded like that. The more you knead it, the better. And you kind of, it's like you push down with the palm of your hand into the middle, and it rolls along the surface, and then fold it back over onto itself, and then turn it around, okay? So it's like that. Yeah, it's dead easy. You can't really do it wrong. If you can't do that, just keep rolling it around on the thing. It does exactly the same. It gets it all mixed up. And really, you've got to do a good couple of minutes at least. And you can tell when it's done because it starts to go really, really like stiff, elasticy. And when you roll it, it feels like it's not stretching anymore. So that's how you want it to feel. Okay. If you really want to get creative and you've got a lot of random stuff in your cupboards, you can put in poppy seeds and sunflower seeds and nuts and raisins and cranberries and whatever you want. You can chuck all them in. This is just a basic bread recipe, just white loaf. But bread is like, oh, there's like a million things you can make, different breads. I absolutely love bread. I love going into Morrison's, into their bread counter, and buying all the ones with nuts and seeds and delicious things. It's quite expensive, and none of my kids like it. They all like flipping old Hovis and that white cardboard stuff, but I love nice breads. Bread goes with everything. So when you start to feel like, you know, your arms are starting to ache a bit, then you're nearly there. Okay? Hopefully your hands will be nice and clean by the time I'm finished. Should be. You also, if you haven't got a loaf tin like this, you can make it in like a cake tin or anything. It doesn't really matter, as long as it's not too big a tin, because what you'll find is your bread, it'll fill the bottom of your tin or pan or whatever it is you've got. It might not go up, it'll go across. So if you've got something that it can go up instead of across, then that's better. When I was little, we used to make them in like clay plant pots. I remember they used to come out all sorts of shapes. We used to love making this because you can set your kids off doing this. Dead easy. Right. Okay, so when it's like that sort of shape, just set it aside for a minute, and then you've got to grease your tin. Okay, so the worst job of the lot, I think, get a bit of your paper off your lard, and a little bit of it, I don't need so much, just like a bit like the size of your thumb maybe, and just rub it all around the sides of your tin. Now it's so important that you do this because you'll never get it out if you don't. So get it right into the corners and right into the bottom. I mean, you probably could line it if you were really bothered about it, but this does the job much, much better. And it'll make it lovely and golden on the outside. And what we should have done while we were raising it, if I didn't have to go to Kirby, we could have made some butter, which is dead easy. It's just like double cream. You put it in your mixer and add some salt. Set it off and it mixes it into butter if you leave it long enough. You can have a homemade butter. But anyway, not that organised today. So, right, got my tin all lined like that. So no great big dollops of white. And then plop your bread in. Like that. Kind of like knead it into the corners so that it fills the corners if you can. Doesn't have to be perfect because it'll just rise up and do its own thing anyhow. So it wants to look like that. Okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to put a clean tea towel over the top like that, and I'm going to set it on the hearth next to my wood burner because it's on and it's toasty, and then I'm going to go to curb it and I'll come back and hopefully it'll be done. Alright, so anybody who's baking along, go and do something else. I don't know, whatever you want, go and have a sleep, I'll wake you up later. But hopefully it'll be risen. Should be sort of level with the tin when it's done. Okay, so I'll see you later. Right, I'm back. Been to Kirby, been a bit longer than I expected. But my bread's alright, can you see? Take my thing off, it's all risen. Now if you were to poke it now, all the air would go out of it and you'd have imprints. But if you wanted also, you could tip it out and roll it out again and then put it in. But I think it's best just left like this. So just take the thing off it and then stick it in the oven. And it needs about half an hour in a really hot oven. So I'll stick it in and I'll see you again in half an hour. Right, I've just got my bread out of the oven. As you can see, it's done. The way you tell if it's done, when you lift your tin off, if you hit it on the bottom, it should sound hollow. And it's a bit well done on the top, but I got distracted because I've got a poorly sheep and I had to go and inject it, and I came back, and anyway, it's all right, it's good, but it's a bit well done. But anyway, it's fine, and that's just what life is at the moment. It's just, you know, hectic and stressful, and if all you've done today is have a shower, put a bra on and fed your kids, then that's fine. And also if you've been on a 16-mile hike and you've done 18 assessments and finished all your homeschooling, then that's fine too. But you know, life's not a competition, and I'm just concerned that some people, you know, you're reading it on social media every day that, oh, they've done this, they've done that, and they just feel that they can't compete. And that's so important that you don't try to. So I'm just, you know, if you need some support, you need someone to pray for you or with you, or you just need someone to talk to, then please get in touch, because life's not all about the great big a la carte meal that you should be creating for your husband or your wife to come home to. Just stick with the bread. There's it fills a hole, it does its job, and nobody's going to go hungry living on bread. So hey ho. Anyway, enough for today, I think, and get in touch if you think you need some help or you want some support or you'd like me to pray for you, because I'm always at the end of the old messenger or text or Snapchat or whatever it is, or you can give me a ring and we could speak. But hey ho. Anyway, better days are coming. Keep going, keep fighting on, and hopefully before long we'll all be able to eat bread and jam together. Okay, stay cool. Bye.